G'day guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of a thriller from Australia, English language, released in the year 2014, directed by David McCod, and this film is called The Rover. So The Rover is set in Australia 10 years after the collapse. So it's a post-apocalyptic world, nothing is ever easy, and a lot of people are trying their best to survive. So in the outback there is this guy who stops at this roadhouse, he goes for a glass of water, and while he's drinking his water, some people steal his car. So his car is very, very valuable to him for reasons that are later revealed, and he will stop at nothing to get his car back. So he comes across this wounded guy who turns out to be the brother of one of the thieves. And so he takes the wounded bloke and he says to him, "You're going to help me track down your brother. I want this car. If you're not going to help me, I'm going to slit your throat." So left with no other option, the injured man decides to help this guy track down his brother and so he can get his car. And along the way they're going to forge a very strange relationship. So whether or not they can get the car in one piece is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Rover. The Rover comes with a lot of hype for the simple fact that David McCod is a very good Australian director. Now he directed another film called Animal Kingdom, which got a lot of praise internationally, and I think that Jackie Weaver actually won an Academy Award for her role in that film. It's a crime family, it's a mafia style of film. I didn't really like that movie, but I could appreciate it for what it was. It was very well made, the dialogue was absolutely mesmerising, and there were a lot of scenes in that film that just truly stuck in your mind. So it's not a terrible film, Animal Kingdom, but I just didn't like the way it went. So coming into The Rover, I had the same expectation with The Rover than I did with Animal Kingdom, but I was hoping that The Rover wouldn't disappoint me, and thankfully The Rover doesn't disappoint. Now I had hesitations coming into it. I thought Robert Pattinson, who played the injured guy, I thought that was a little bit of a risk, because when it comes to Robert Pattinson, I see him as only, an actor for teenage girls, and when it comes to a really, full-on serious film that's going to appeal to an older audience, I had my hesitations whether or not he could deliver a performance that was going to be memorable, and I was blown away by his performance. I will say that he is the most memorable part of the film for the simple fact that I wasn't expecting anything from him. And Robert Pattinson shows in this film that he is a serious actor, and he's an actor that deserves a lot of respect. So I've got a newfound respect for this guy, because when he's put into a serious film, he really knows what he's doing and he can hold himself up. He's not a passenger, and I thought the film really needed that character to work, because it could have made the film or it could have completely ruined the film. So thankfully he decided that he was going to put a lot of time and effort into it, and it does pay off. So the best part of the film is in fact Guy Pearce, but as I said, the most surprising fact, and the reason why it's so surprising is the reason why it's so memorable, is that Robert Pattinson does hold his own. But Guy Pearce is absolutely fantastic. This is a post-apocalyptic film. It does show you characters who are very desperate with their situation, and I believed Guy Pearce from the very first scene. There's not a lot of dialogue, but it's all about his body language. It's all about the cold, sort of steely, approach, this facade he's put on, and I love the fact that, underneath all this really tough exterior, you get a really sensitive guy, and there's some scenes right at the end of the film that just really, really powerful, because you sense that his emotion is coming through, that the whole situation has hardened this guy up very much, yet it's starting to break down, and it does show you that even the toughest person can have a breakdown when it gets all a little bit too much. And that is the reason why I thought Guy Pearce's character was absolutely fantastic. He starts off as just a cardboard cutout, but as the movie goes along, he becomes so much more three-dimensional, a lot of rich depth in his character, and I just thought Guy Pearce does a performance that is very underrated, and it deserves to be seen by a lot of people. Now, there's a very bizarre relationship between the two, Robert Pattinson and Guy Pearce. At the start, they hate each other. Well, it's more a case of Guy Pearce hating Robert Pattinson's character, and I thought Robert Pattinson's character was very innocent. He felt that he wanted to go back to the way he was as a child, and the way he was when the world was operating at a normal, level. But you sense that the innocence of this character is being corrupted by the desperation of the outside world, what the world has become. And I thought his character, there are some scenes where he's listening to some music, he's singing to some music, and they're very subdued scenes, but they're just really, really memorable. And that's why I think The Rover works so well, is because it takes a very simplistic story that's been done before, but it has a lot of depth in the characters, and it feels like it's just so much more than it is. So David McCod is a very intelligent director. He didn't bite off more than he could chew. He didn't try anything ambitious. He didn't have any twists. He didn't, pull the rug from under you. He's not trying to confuse you. He's just giving you a very simplistic story that is very easy to follow, and he's giving you some characters with a lot of interest in them that makes you want to keep watching it. So I will say that yeah, the relationship between the two where they start hating each other, but then there's a strange bond between them. You feel that they never really trust each other, but you feel they're starting to come together. And that's what gives you the fact, the impression that Guy Pearce's character still has some humanity in him. That he has been torn apart by what's happened, but there is still some love inside that guy. And that's why I felt that Robert Pattinson's character really needed to work, otherwise it wouldn't really bounce off on Guy Pearce. And I think part of the reason why Guy Pearce was so good is because Robert Pattinson was good as well. Then you got the supporting cast, David Field, some other Australian actors that were great, and I thought that everything about the production of the film, the script was absolutely phenomenal. There are a lot of scenes that you will pick as your favourite. I know on IMDb a lot of people are discussing which scenes were their favourite, well, what was your favourite scene? My favourite scene was this and that, my favourite scene was this and that, and it's just a lot of discussion because it's so memorable, and it has the same memorable quality that Animal Kingdom had, in that the way that these people deliver their lines, it just gives you an opportunity to shine as actors. And I just love the way that I love the way that the script sounded and these characters really delivered their lines well. Thought the atmosphere was mind-boggling. Some of the camera angles were absolutely perfect. And David Michôd has an eye for this sort of thing. It felt like it was a desperate situation. It's a very depressing feeling that the film has. Some of the camera angles were just really scary as well. There was some violence in there that was very hard-hitting, very brutal, but thankfully it's not overused, as is the case with Animal Kingdom. David Michôd knows when to use a scene of violence to really hit you hard, and he doesn't do it excessively, so you're not sitting there thinking, well, he just wants to shock me. It's a scene of violence, then bang, and then it won't happen for a while. But you're still thinking about it because it just comes straight out of the blue and you weren't expecting it, and then you just don't know when the next scene of violence is going to happen. So for the fans of brutality, the Rover is definitely going to be for you, but it's few and far between, which is very thankful because it doesn't try and show you brutality for the sake of brutality. So it doesn't really overshine what the film is, which is a character drama about two people trying to cope in a very harsh world. Now, the reason why Guy Pearce is chasing his car is, I'm not going to give it away, but that is also what made the film what it was. Now, you start to think to yourself, well, this movie's not really going anywhere. Why is he chasing his car? It's never really explained. But right at the end, the final scene hits you like a sledgehammer, and it gives you a newfound appreciation for Guy Pearce's character. And you feel to yourself, wow, there's not many people in the world that would do this. And so I really love that aspect of it as well. It gives it another dimension right at the end, when you think that it's going to finish, it just hits you with like a ton of bricks, and you'll be thinking about it a long time after. Now, it is post-apocalyptic, and if you like explanations for what's going on, you're not going to like The Rover because it doesn't explain anything, which is very realistic, because a lot of these films at the start has to explain why there was a collapse. Is this a worldwide problem, or is this just a local problem? And it feels to me that that is a movie. It's not realistic. It's just, it feels like it's entertainment. But in The Rover, these people have suffered this for 10 years. So they don't need to explain anything, because everybody knows what's going on. So when you come into the film, it feels like you're a fly on the wall. You have no idea what's happened. Why is Australia like this? Is it the same in America? Whatever. It lets your imagination run wild, because these people don't need to explain it, because they're actually living it. And that, to me, is a realistic portrayal of something horrible. And, the imagination is a powerful thing, and David Michôd allows you to use your imagination in the fact that, whether or not this is a global problem in Australia, all it says is 10 years after the collapse. So why it collapsed, I don't know, but I love that aspect of it, because it just gives it a level of mystery that will keep your brain working. So overall, this is a fantastic film. If I had seen this last year when it was released, I would have included it in my top 10. This is yet another brilliant Australian film, and it's David Michôd's best. So overall, for The Rover, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars, coming highly recommended. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.